Amnesty International has also appealed to the Zimbabwean authorities to drop charges against university students arrested for protesting against a steep hike in tuition fees. 14 students were arrested on Monday and charged with disorderly conduct. They were released after paying a fine or bail. 5 others were arrested on Wednesday. Students at the University of Zimbabwe are facing an up to 10-fold increase in fees. Amnesty said it was a travesty of justice that people were having to spend time in detention and courtrooms for simply asking for affordable education. Amnesty International says police arrested 14 students at the University of Zimbabwe on the 12th of September 2022. This after they embarked on a peaceful #FeesMustFall demonstration against high tuition fee hikes by the university, while 5 more students were arrested on the 14th of September and taken to Avondale Police Station. The university recently announced a staggering increase in tuition fees of up to 1,000%. This means that undergraduate students will pay up to $500,000 Zimbabwe dollars from around 50,000 Zimbabwean dollars, depending on their faculty. Students have described the increase in fees as unaffordable and beyond the reach of their parents and guardians. They vowed to boycott lectures until the university reverses its decision. Okay, let's speak now to Zimbabwean journalist Tapiwa Zivira, who is speaking to us from Harare. A very good evening to you, Tapiwa. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So let's just first start with all those that have been arrested for taking part in the protest. Have they all been released, and were they all made to appear in court?
Thank you so much for having me on the program. So we've learned that 14 of the students that were arrested were released after paying fine, and 3 of those were released on bail, which means that they are still to face charges of disorderly conduct. But we believe this is an act of intimidation on the part of the students, so that they don't continue to demand quality, affordable tertiary education.
Now, Tapiwa, the charges I mentioned, disorderly conduct, were there any other charges that were added for those who were arrested?
I would believe that the charges for the students have been disorderly conduct, but we also believe that this is so much an attempt to go against the Constitution, which gives the students in every Zimbabwean the right to demonstrate and petition, which they did, rightfully so, because they were aggrieved by the sudden and very high increase in their fees.
Now, let's just talk about that huge spike in university tuition fees. How do the universities explain it, and is it effective immediately?
Yes, it was effective immediately, and the students were not warned before. So how the university justified this is that the Zimbabwean dollar is losing value, but it also goes against the government's continued false news that the Zimbabwean dollar is gaining value. So how do you expect that a currency that is expected to be gaining value is also a currency where people face a 1,000% increase in the cost? And this is coming against a situation where the civil servants, or rather the government workers, who are the basis of most of the salaries that are earned in any sector, they have not gotten an increase. So you cannot have a situation where you have general workers not getting an increase, and then you have student fees getting a 1,000% increase in fees.
Just give us an idea, if you can, in rand terms, Tapiwa, how much this brings us tuition up to. And I'd imagine with the average salary of those in the workforce in Zimbabwe dropping drastically. This is completely unattainable, a baffling decision.
Yes, so it's 370,000 that the highest paying student at UZ is expected to pay, is equivalent to about 370,000. So it's equivalent to 370 US dollars at the prevailing rate of the day. And then the average civil servant is earning about 60,000, which is about just about not more than $60. So it is more like 5 to 10 times the amount of an average earning person in Zimbabwe. So it is a lot of money, and we are talking about a situation where we have a lot of currency distortions, where the government had interbank rate against the US dollar is pretty much lower than the parallel rate which is prevailing in the market.
So what happened next? Does the protest continue?
I would like to believe that students would continue to protest because not just them protesting at the university campus, but they will be protesting by not being able to pay the fees. Because in essence, the situation is where every ordinary Zimbabwean is not able to pay these fees based on the continued decrease in the levels of income among Zimbabweans.
What, if at all, can students do, Tapiwa? I mean, as we've already spoken about, I mean, the pressure is being felt by higher education institutions, but it doesn't add up. If a country says it wants to grow its economy, it wants to increase skills, and we want to employ more people, but those people need to have the requisite knowledge, something has got to give.
Definitely something has got to give, and it is the government of Zimbabwe that needs to recognize that its economic policies have failed. The government of Zimbabwe needs to recognize that it has neglected the entire education sector to such an extent that as the students, as the parents, we have to pay off for the cost of education in Zimbabwe. You must understand that under the Mnangagwa regime, the cost of education has gone way up to an extent where the ordinary person in Zimbabwe cannot afford it. So I think it is upon the government to realize that they have an obligation under the Constitution of Zimbabwe to provide quality education and affordable education. And I think the protests are just a manifestation of the long-standing situation where Zimbabweans have had to subsidize the government on many social services, not just education, where the government should be chipping in.
All right. Just quickly on Amnesty International, do we know, or any other civic society organizations, any type of support that they're going to lend the students in their fight against skyrocketing tuition fees?
Yeah, so I understand that there are some local civil society organizations that are working towards advocating for affordable and quality tertiary, and not just tertiary, but all other forms of education. And I also understand that the education situation has become a human rights situation in Zimbabwe, such that I believe all human rights organizations, not just in Zimbabwe, but in the world, should be looking at this situation as a very critical and emergency issue.
All right. Thank you, Tapiwa. Zimbabwean journalist Tapiwa Zivira speaking to us from Harare on the protests against high tuition fees.